Welcome to Channel World Story 22, a channel that always presents news about the history of countries in the world. On this occasion, the World Story Channel will discuss sexual violence perpetrated by the Japanese military against Asian women, especially in Indonesia. Japanese soldiers during World War II committed a lot of sexual violence against women. Those women were made into sex slaves by the Japanese soldiers. Here is an old woman who recounts an incident when she was made into a sex slave by Japanese soldiers. This woman named Mariem who told the incident that happened to her at that time. She was made a sex slave by the Japanese army when she was 13 years old. Then what is the story of the incident that happened to Mariem, a woman from the city of Yogyakarta, Indonesia? Before continuing to the discussion, let me first remind my brothers who don't support this channel yet, come on, support this channel by liking, commenting, subscribing and sharing. Hundreds of thousands of women in several Asian countries, including Indonesia, were kidnapped and taken prisoner by the Japanese military during World War II. They were raped and forced to undergo sexual slavery, or what is called Ianfu. Mariem's tears melted again when he recalled the tragedy that took his childhood. Even though this heartbreaking incident happened decades ago, a sense of trauma still haunts Mariem's life. When she was 13 years old, she was held captive at the headquarters as a comfort woman, a term for women who were forced into sex slaves by the Japanese military. Mariem said a neighbor who had just returned from Kalimantan offered him a job as a singer. Her neighbor broke the news that the Japanese government opened job opportunities for women to be employed as restaurant servers and performers in Kalimantan. At that time I was good at singing keroncong, said Mariem, who was 73 years old when he was telling his story. This testimony is contained in the book Momoe. They Call Me, Biography of the History of Comfort Women in Indonesia, 2007, by Eka Hindra and Koiki Kimura. Mariem died the same year the book was published. Hearing the news of the job vacancy, Mariem was so happy. Imagine that he can realize his dream as a singer. When he departed from Yogyakarta for Telawang, a village on the outskirts of Banjarmasin city, South Kalimantan, his heart was filled with joy. Upon arriving there, Mariem and 24 of his friends, most of whom came from Ambarawa, Central Java, occupied a long house which had been divided into 24 rooms. The longhouse looked more like an army barracks. Each person occupies a room measuring 7.5 square meters equipped with a bed, table and chairs. I occupied room number 11 and was called Momoe, said Mariem. If I don't have the courage to expose myself internationally to deal with comfort women, then comfort women will never get justice. I'm tired of being ridiculed. I want everyone, especially the younger generation, to know the whole thing. But at that time a bad feeling immediately enveloped Mariem. Mariem's bad premonition turns into reality. Mariem must swallow a bitter pill. His dream as a singer had to run aground. At that time, Mariem was only 13 years old and had not yet had her period. Suddenly he was forced to serve the lust of the Japanese army. The pain she was suffering from had not gone away, when a second man came, fucked her without giving her a chance to rest. Within a day, Mariem was forced to serve up to 15 Japanese soldiers at once. As a result, her reproductive organs experienced severe bleeding. This incident caused Mariem to undergo surgery to remove the uterus in 1950. Bloody kept coming out, had time to be treated and dry. Until finally I found out I was pregnant, explained Mariem. As soon as they found out that she was pregnant, the Japanese army immediately tried to abort her womb. My stomach was forcibly pressed at the age of 5 months of pregnancy, he said while showing sadness until the wrinkles on his skin became clearer. Mariem became a comfort woman during the period 1943-1945. Mariem, along with other women who survived, were freed when the Japanese government left Indonesia. When Japan lost World War II, August 1945, the girls who were victims of Ianfu were just let go. They lost their way, and had trouble getting home. The state is busy with its independence affairs, so the victims do not get an official statement from the government, and naturally become outcasts. Mariem had left for Japan to fight for her rights as a comfort woman. She and 4 other comfort women, accompanied by 4 lawyers from a number of NGOs, fought in the International Community Court, the Tribunal, Tokyo, in 2000. The court also won the lawsuit of all the comfort women throughout Asia, and found guilty to Emperor Akihito for systematically committing crimes against humanity. Japanese people consider that comfort women are just ordinary commercial sex workers, and do not view war crimes as such. If I don't have the courage to expose myself in the international world to deal with the comfort women, forever the comfort women will not get justice. I'm tired of being ridiculed. I want everyone, especially the younger generation, to know the whole thing. Not just pieces, so they know and understand that being a comfort woman is not what we want and that we are not prostitutes, said Mariem. When the former comfort women were free and began to socialize, the outside community isolated them and kept them away. This is what made them shut themselves off from society. Until in 1992 there was a movement of former Ianfu comfort women. They asked the Indonesian government to sue the Japanese government to admit and apologize. Disclosure of information about the practice of sexual slavery occurred when a woman named Tumina from Solo, who was the first Ianfu victim from Indonesia, dared to speak publicly. Tumina testified of all the sexual brutality she experienced during the Japanese rule in Solo in 1942-1945. Tumina's courage emerged thanks to the support of Dr. Koichi Kimura, a Japanese activist and theologian. Tumina's testimony was published in the Suara Merdeka newspaper written by Joko Santoso, who is also known as a solo poet named Gojak. Jugan Ianfu is one of the efforts of the Japanese government to meet all the needs of its soldiers. Starting from the need for clothing, food, to sexual needs in the area under his control. This is to maintain the morale and physical endurance of soldiers while on the battlefield. Because of this, the Japanese government in Indonesia at that time brought in a number of women who were deliberately employed to fulfill the sexual needs of Japanese soldiers serving in Indonesia. The phenomenon of the comfort women appeared in almost all Japanese colonies at that time, namely Indonesia, Malaysia, China, North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, the Philippines and Timor-Leste, which were occupied by the Japanese during the colonial period 1931-1945. The recruitment of the comfort women was carried out by force and indiscriminately. Even the Dutch women who were still in Indonesia at that time were not spared from being recruited. The number of victims who became sex slaves cannot be ascertained clearly. Apart from the lack of official documentation that records it, documents related to this have been destroyed by the Japanese government itself. According to historian Yoshiaki Yoshimi, who conducted the first academic research, an estimated 50,000 to 200,000 women were abducted and placed in military brothels. Chinese historian Hua Lun Huang in the book The Missing Girls and Women of China, Hong Kong and Taiwan. A sociological study of infanticide,